to chapter 4 of our Active Liberal League webinar on Google Hangouts. We're seeking to provide more information regarding the upcoming referendum on our constitutional amendments. Tonight, our guest speaker is Ms. Brandace Duncanson, and she'll be presenting on Bill number 1. She was born and raised on Grand Bahama in the settlement of 8 Mile Rock to her parents, Bert and Dolores Duncanson. She attended St. Paul's Methodist College and obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in Public Relations and Marketing from Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida. She then went on to obtain an LLB, upper second class, from the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill, Barbados, and then obtained a legal education certificate from the Eugene DePuch Law School in Nassau, Bahamas. She is currently employed with the Office of the Attorney General in secondment to the Ministry of Financial Services as Acting Deputy Director, and most currently redeployed to the Constitutional Commission as a member of the Educational Committee. So please welcome Ms. Brandace Duncanson.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And it really is a pleasure to speak to you on this very topical issue. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Great. Yes, I wanted to say good evening to everyone and also to thank you for inviting me to speak on this very topical issue of national importance in our country. And as you are aware, come June 7th, the Bahamas and the citizens will be asked to vote on 4 bills. And the first 3 bills deal with equality and giving Bahamian men and women the same right to pass their citizenship on to their families, their spouses, and their children. And of course, bill number 4 is that bill that is seeking to establish a fundamental principle of non-discrimination on the basis of sex. And so the first bill is seeking to amend Article 8 of the Constitution. And Article 8 of the Constitution is that article that grants children born abroad to Bahamian parents Bahamian citizenship. And Article 8 reads as follows. Article 8 says, a person born outside the Bahamas after 9th July 1973 shall become a citizen of the Bahamas at the date of his birth if at that date his father is a citizen of the Bahamas. Now, in that article, it makes no reference to the mother of a child born abroad. And that's because the child born abroad to a Bahamian woman is not entitled to Bahamian citizenship at birth. A child born to a Bahamian woman has to wait until he or she is 18 and before the age of 21 and make an application to be registered as a citizen of the Bahamas. And so we say, is that equal rights under the law? It's for you to decide. I'm not here to tell you how to vote. The proposed amendment to Article 8 of the Constitution is seeking to expand the ability of citizenship to children born abroad to both the Bahamian man and the Bahamian woman. Now, before I continue, I do want to clarify that we're speaking in terms of a marriage situation. So where you have a married Bahamian man, and he may be married to another Bahamian or a foreign woman, and they have a child born outside the Bahamas. Wherever in the world that child is born, that child is a Bahamian at birth by virtue of the fact that that child was born to a married Bahamian man. And you'll see in our Constitution where there is a marriage, citizenship passes through the father. And where there is no marriage, citizenship passes through the mother. Now, a child born in similar situation to a married Bahamian woman, and so she may be married to a Canadian, an American, a Jamaican, an Italian, from wherever. If she were to have a child in the same situation, born outside the Bahamas, like I said, her child is not given the corresponding right to Bahamian citizenship at birth. And so by amending Article 8 and by including the words or woman or mother, you now remove the discrimination that exists between the Bahamian parents, the mother and father, as well as their children. And so it is proposed then that should the proposed bill number 1, obtain a majority yes vote in the upcoming referendum, well, then the discrimination will be removed between those two children, as well as their parents' ability to pass citizenship. And then we seek to then equalize the sexes on that ground. And Article 9 will then be repealed because it will no longer be necessary. And, as the Commission traveled through the length and breadth of the Bahamas, Bahamians from all walks of life shared their experiences, and their knowledge of persons who are affected by these bills, particularly this bill number 1 in particular. And it really tugged at the hearts of the Commission, as well as persons in the audience who listened. And so it is felt then that this bill is very important with respect to keeping Bahamian families together and ensuring that as citizens we have the same access to rights as our fellow citizens, and that there's no discrimination or discrepancy or inequality with the way that we are being treated. And so it is important then in this instance to thus equalize the sexes and show Bahamian citizens that whether you're male, whether you're female, whether you were born to a Bahamian father or born to a Bahamian mother, you should have the same access to Bahamian citizenship. And I'll just share with you some of the stories that, being a member of the Commission, that we've been presented with and persons have shared with us. There was a lady who came to one of our presentations, and she shared where she's a Bahamian woman married to a non-Bahamian, and they have 2 children. One child was born in the Bahamas, and the other child was born outside the Bahamas for medical reasons. And she was not aware that her child born in the United States would not be able to access Bahamian citizenship. And her story goes that, every time they're traveling back home from family vacation, her and the child born in the Bahamas, they just walk through the resident line and they carry on smartly, whereas the child who was born in the U.S. has to go through the visitor line and is given a stamp in her passport allowing her to remain in the Bahamas for periods of up to 2 weeks at a time. And she spoke of the frustration that her family experiences because of that, as well as just the psychological effect it has on her children, and that child in particular. Because here you have, 2 children, they're born in a marriage, they have the same mother, they have the same father, but because of the circumstances of their birth, they're being treated differently. And so Bill number 1 is seeking to correct those sorts of injustices. Similarly, as I mentioned earlier, where there is a marriage, citizenship is traced through the father. No marriage, citizenship is traced through the mother. We had another lady who shared her story where she wanted to get married to this gentleman who she fell in love with. He was a non-Bahamian, but instead of getting married first, she made a conscious decision to have all of her children with that man out of wedlock, and then they got married so that her children could have Bahamian citizenship. So here is a woman who believes in the institution of marriage. Clearly, she was committed to her husband or her beau at the time, and she wanted a family with him. But she was then now forced to put herself in a situation where she had to choose between her beliefs, her morals, and giving her children citizenship. And no citizen really should have to put themselves in that situation. As Bahamians, we all pay the same taxes, we all make the same contributions, and the government expects the same from all of us, regardless of whether we're male or if we're female. And so we should now demand that the government treat us with the same level of respect and grant us the same rights across the board. And so, like I said, hence Bill number 1, like I said, is seeking to allow a child born to either a Bahamian mother or father to obtain their citizenship at birth when they're born abroad. And so at this point, I don't know if anyone else wants to interject and add any comment, or possibly want to share any experience that they know of persons who are affected, or perhaps you yourself may be in a situation where you are affected or prohibited in some way by Bill number 1.
Thank you so much, Brandace. I think Davinia has a couple of questions, so I'm going to turn it over to her. But thank you so much. You're clear, crystal clear.
Thank you.
Hi, Brandace.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
Can you imagine a reason why someone
The connection froze. I didn't catch all of your question. Oh, okay. Now I see it. What may be a reason that anyone would consider voting no to this bill, and what may be my response to that? Actually, we have been presented with situations where persons have said, why does it matter? Someone gave an example, my child is an American, and to me, that's the best citizenship to have in the world. However, at the end of that presentation, the child
would consider
I think we might be having some connection issues. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, great, because I couldn't hear you guys.
We lost connection for a second.
Okay, not a problem. So, like I said,
Yeah.
yes, during our presentation, there have been persons who have opposed the bill, and that's their right. And some of the reasons have been, one lady said, well, my child has American citizenship, which to me is, the best citizenship to have in the world. And it was unfortunate that she took that position, because her child then came up after the meeting to ask about, his ability or inability to represent the Bahamas in CARIFTA. And he's a 14, 15-year-old, quite a a talented athlete from what I understand. But because, he's not a Bahamian by virtue of the circumstances of his birth, he's not able to represent the country that he knows and loves and is growing up in a sporting event like CARIFTA. with the rest of his buddies and track mates. And so he was quite devastated about that and didn't understand why his mother would take such a position. And, we've had other examples where, a gentleman actually said, well, that woman decided to go out and marry that non-Bahamian and have her child abroad, and so let her suffer the consequences of her actions. And it is a very unfortunate and in my opinion, selfish position to take, because when people get married, and what I tell them, when people get married, I don't think they really consider where this person is from, their culture, or whether they're Bahamian or not, or non-Bahamian. It's about the way that person makes you feel, and wanting to be with this person. Love transcends culture, race, country of birth, and everything else. And so I don't think persons should be penalized in that sense for who they choose as a life partner. Some people may think different. And then there are situations where persons just get caught and they don't have the intention of having their children abroad. One lady said that, she was about 6 or 7 months pregnant, went over to the US to do some shopping for the baby, slipped in the mall, water bag broke, went into early labor. And she ended up having her child in the US. She was married to a Canadian. And so just by that unfortunate incident, her child basically lost out on Bahamian citizenship. And it's really unfortunate. It is. Because, like I said, the fact is, we're all Bahamians. We all contribute to this country and our society. And so the Constitution is a contract between the state and its citizens. And the state is responsible for all of its citizens. And so in my mind, all of its citizens should be given the same rights under the Constitution, which is our supreme law. Any other question?
Hi, this is Fran. I guess I just wanted clarification on the time the process takes. So you're saying that for a child born to a Bahamian man, they get citizenship automatically, but the child born to a married Bahamian woman she has to wait 18 years.
Exactly. Under the Constitution, under Article 9 of the Constitution, that child has to wait until they're 18 and between the age of 21 to apply. Now, under special circumstances, the Bahamian parent or woman, can apply under Section 6 of the Nationality Act, but she has to present special circumstances to the minister. And under that section of the Nationality Act, the minister responsible has a ministerial discretion whether or not to register that child as a citizen of the Bahamas. But that's in special circumstances. And like I said, it's at his discretion. So that can possibly be done before the child turns 18 years. But if there's nothing that would warrant the minister to exercise his discretion, well, then that person has to wait until they're 18. I do want to point out that this bill is not retroactive. And so the persons will be able to take advantage after the referendum when the bill has been gazetted and forward. However, the government has made representation and they've announced that persons affected now who would have missed the boat, who they may be 17, 16, and under, that through administrative policy, the government would register those children already here who are 17 and under between now and the gazetting of the bills. And so if you know of persons who have children who are 17 and under who are affected by Article 8, then you can let them know that they can seek now to utilize the administrative policy that the government has announced to have their children registered as a citizen. And so they will have to complete the requisite form under the Nationality Act. I think it's a Form 4, and it tells you what all supporting documentation you need to submit, as well as a cover letter outlining the circumstances. And so that was the compromise between not allowing the bills to be retroactive, but still wanting to assist those children who are here, 17 and under, to be registered. Because of course, children 18, their right would have arose by the time when they obtain 18 years, and they then would have been able to apply under Article 9.
Thank you so much, Brandace. We all really appreciate you coming on today. After one, I'm sure it's a long day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, good night, Bahamas.
Good night.